lot, and I apologize. But and I've started a few of these with some cursing. It's gonna be another one because holy shit, I've got TJ Crawford, Don Kincaid, stirring the pot with Don Kincaid and TJ Crawford, my very special guest tonight. Thank you, TJ Crawford, for coming on, man.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. Let's dive in deep. Let's get to it.
Hey, you want to dive in? Let's get right in because this week we're celebrating Zebra Week, and without the reminder of one Ref Gina, Blue Shoes. I love Blue Shoes. Without Ref Gina's little guidance, she goes, "Hey, did you ask TJ?" And I go, "Shit, I was supposed to. Thanks for the reminder." That's how we've connected. So let's dive in right there. What's going on with TJ Crawford and Blue Shoes?
All right, so me and Gina actually talked about this the other day. We were actually, I was texting her the other day about this. The first time that me and Gina actually met was at a PAPW show in, obviously in Connecticut. I don't remember exactly where. It was at an ice rink show. I believe it was a benefit show.
Yep.
So that was the first time that I'd ever met Gina. I feel like I think I've been on shows with her before, but this is the first time I actually got to sit down and talk with her. So funny story is that she was the ref for my match. I think I was like the second or third match on the show, wrestling Ty Shine. Now, so we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit. For all the fans who don't know, the sheet that's in the back, whoever's winning the match, you're going to underline the name. Now, TJ and Ty, when written on paper, kind of looked pretty similar.
Okay.
Kind of looked pretty similar. So, obviously, Ty was champion at the time, which I did not know going into the match. I probably should have done my research a little bit more. But, of course, Ty's supposed to go over in the match. Match happens. We are under the impression that I'm going over. I tell Gina what the finish is, and she counts to 3 in the middle of the ring, but is really confused that it's me pinning Ty instead of Ty pinning me. She thought She when I originally told her, she had thought that it was flipped the other way around, and I remember getting to the back, and Paul Roma was upset with me. You know, we wound up squashing everything by the end of the night, but it was just a really funny moment, and kind of like one of those like haha embarrassing moments of mine in wrestling. So that's actually the first time me and Gina got to know each other, and I think after that we became pretty close friends.
That's amazing because me and my dad, we go to all the events together, and we were there. It was in East Haven at a memorial ice rink over there, and it's a pretty cool environment for wrestling because it holds quite a few people, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And whenever I saw TJ Crawford was going to be on the bill, I said to my dad on the way there, I go, "You know, I've showed you TJ, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." I go, "He's going to be on the card." And then you come out with a manager, which kind of threw me because you're more of a loner. You come out, you do your thing. I don't see you with managers. How did that kind of happen?
That was actually kind of thrown on me kind of last minute. I wasn't aware of it until almost maybe 5 minutes before the match had started. He comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, we're going to throw you with, I'm blanking on the name.
DiNucci. Yeah, Joseph
Okay.
DiNucci. Yeah.
All right. So, and, you know, luckily we, without having to kind of talk with each other, we kind of had like I thought a pretty good chemistry with him on the outside, me in the inside. There was one point during the match I look over and all his clothes are just he strips down and he just has on his tights. It kind of took me out of the moment for a second. I was kind of like, wait, what the hell's going on out here? But like, it's just like a funny moment. And again, like it was something that was sprung onto me like last minute. It could have been Paul trying to rib me and trying to make me see like, hey, let's see if you can roll with this manager that we kind of throw at you last minute. So, but like I said, man, it was a lot. I had a lot of fun with that.
But that shows something of your work ethic, though. You can get put in a match. You can get a manager tossed at you and make it work. That just shows what you've put in to become a wrestler. You can just make shit happen. And we appreciate that because whenever my dad saw DiNucci with you, because we know of DiNucci,
Yeah.
what the hell is he doing with TJ Crawford? I go,
Yeah, there was definitely an odd pairing, but you know what? Again, it got people looking like I'm confused why these two are together, and that kind of, brought it to life a little bit more.
but it worked. And that whole stripping of the clothes thing, that's kind of part of his shtick that he does.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's a riot, that kid. Holy crap.
Like I said, after that, I got to watch a little bit more of his work, and actually, I've seen that that's kind of part of the shtick. So I get to enjoy his work a little bit.
Yeah, he's a great character. Characters is what we talk about. Pretty much that's why I like to have the people on. But TJ Crawford is not a character. You seem to present yourself as, like a wrestler. You're not some over the top character. You're not some over the top costumed or any kooky, one liners or you're no comic relief. You're a wrestler, you come out and you take care of business, you make your money, you take off. Has that always been part of you as a wrestler, or did you have a gimmick before you become what you are now? Or
So when I first started wrestling, the original character gimmick that I was given, or I should say, gave to myself and my other teammates, was when I was with the Beach Bums. Myself, Freddie IV, and Brody. So just starting out in wrestling, having to kind of learn the entertainment aspect of it, and I always tell a lot of the guys that ask me for advice when they're coming up is that work on having a character first and then worry about the wrestling after that, because you need something that's going to connect with the audience just to start out. The Beach Bum thing, being an over the top character, being the comedic relief of the show, wasn't what I always wanted to do, but at the time it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. It allowed me more comfortable in the ring, and it got people to kind of not even just notice me, but notice the team, because we were so colorful and so over the top that people were like, okay, well now I'm a fan of Freddie and the Beach Bums, or I'm a fan of TJ's, or a fan of Brody's, or whatever. And then once we all go our separate ways, now we all have our separate followings, and now we can go in our own direction, figure out what we want to do.
Now, I've seen you with the Beach Bums as part of the Beach Bums. You were with Freddie Flamingo, and my God, as a singles competitor, and like I said, you come out, you do your thing, but the fans have been a part of anything. Either if it's a boo or if it's a cheer, you've always engaged us with you, and that's a big part of wrestling and getting that whole dance flowing, because without that, it's just kind of dead air and we're just watching two guys roll around and stuff.
Exactly.
So you do that very well, but seeing you in the Beach Bums for me is like, what? That's TJ Crawford. What the hell is going on? How do you go back and forth like that, and seamless, might I add?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, at the time, Beach Bums was the only thing I was doing. But then in the later months of the Beach Bums, I was kind of flipping back and forth. Some places I would still wrestle with Freddie as a Beach Bum. Some places I would do my own thing. But even once I broke away from the Beach Bums and started doing my own thing, I was still kind of a goofy comedic character when I was doing the overtime gimmick, when I was doing kind of the basketball player thing, because like I said, when I first start that new character out, you have to figure out, okay, what works, what doesn't, and the comedy wrestling and the super over the top character aspect of it just isn't for me. It wasn't something that I gravitated to growing up. So, like I said, sometimes you have to do that in order to get a connection with the fans. But being able to switch back and forth between Beach Bum and myself was definitely difficult, because the Beach Bum character was very different from the character that you see today.
Mm-hmm. It can't be a tough venture trying to keep both things going, both gimmicks, if you will, to keep that flowing. But again, you did it seamless, because when I seen you with the Beach Bums, it was an intimate setting, Paradise Alley Pro at their training facility. But when they have their shows, you pay $5. There's about maybe 50, 60 seats or so. Mm-hmm. And son of a bitch, if we don't get to see talent like the Beach Bums come, I can't go to your area because we're a little bit of distance.
Right.
We're doing stuff like I remember specifically, Freddie is on the floor in front of me because he got thrown out. And he's like, oh man, where am I? And I go, Freddie, swim to shore. The shore is over there. And we were all like, swim, swim. And he was doing it. We were doing it. You were encouraging and doing it. Dude, that dance right there, it's really fun, but it shows that you have that passion to really bring us all into that story that you're trying. Even if it's an ad lib, that's even harder, you know?
Exactly. If you can't get the fans involved, I'd much rather have boos than no noise at all. As long as people are making noise, whether it's the reaction that I want, the reaction that I need, doesn't matter to me. As long as people are making noise, as long as people are having a good time, what more can you ask for?
The character that you have now, singles competitor, you look good, you look polished, got good gear. Now you've kind of made some strides here and there. So what I'd like to take the fans, because I don't know a whole lot about you, and for the fans that don't even know TJ Crawford, I like to introduce the fans to new talent that they've never seen before. Then they can get on the medias and check your stuff out and maybe get on board with that TJ Crawford. But take us on a ride from where is your home base? Where are you located?
So right now I'm currently located in New Jersey, in central New Jersey. I train with the WrestlePro promotion in Rahway, New Jersey. Currently right now I'm actually back home in Chicago with family. But when I am wrestling, I am located in central New Jersey.
Okay, and you mentioned it was WrestlePro is your home base promotion?
Yeah, WrestlePro, Creative Pro New Jersey, Creative Pro, whatever you want to label it as. That's the home promotion. That's where I started in January of 2016, and that's the place that kind of gave me the platform to express myself and to develop as the years have come on. Nice.
Since you mentioned New Jersey, I got to put this out there because I'm a fan. I hope he's not behind me. And I always I see I'm trashing the place. One Dirtbag Dan. Have you ever had a run-in with a Dirtbag Dan? Are you familiar with him?
I'm familiar with Dirtbag Dan. I've never wrestled Dirtbag Dan, but I've been on multiple shows with him. So I always enjoy his presence in the locker room. We seem to get along pretty well. So
and he's got a veteran presence about him because he's been in the game for a bit. But I was kind of curious if you ever got that damn chemical warfare he throws out at me.
Like I said, I haven't gotten it yet, and I hope I never get it.
No, if you get in the ring from me to you, and Dan's gonna kick my ass the next time he sees me, I'm warning you. Watch for the armpit. Get away. Don't do it. All right.
I'll make sure of it.
Yeah, I'm here to help you. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I've been victim to that. It's horrible. Don't like it. Now I'm wearing a Ray Jazz shirt. Another guy kind of making his circuit around. Are you familiar with a Mr. Ray Jazz?
I am actually. I know Ray trains with Damian Adams. I believe it's down in Hackettstown, New Jersey. Damian Adams is a great mind for wrestling. So Ray's learning from one of the good minds in wrestling. Damian trained under the same Rip Rogers as my trainer Pat Buck has. So the philosophies that Damian's teaching his students is kind of the same that Pat's teaching us over at Creative Pro. So I'm not super friendly with Ray. I haven't gotten a chance to like really share a locker room with Ray, but I do know Ray and I am familiar with his work.
Well, the only reason why I kind of wore this is because I don't compare, but if I had to, I think you and Ray Jazz, you guys would really knock it out of the park in the ring, man. I think it would be a fantastic intermingling. I think you should look into that. Again, I'm here to help, my friend.
Definitely. I would love to mix it up with anybody. And like I said, I've seen some of Ray's work, and I would definitely love to mix it up with Ray. I think me and Ray can definitely do something cool.
Yeah, I think it would really work out fantastic. So because I'm not that bright, so I kind of jump around all over the place.
Hey, man, I'm with you. Let's jump around all over the place.
I want to get back to kind of your beginnings. You WrestlePro is your home base. Are you still actively training? And if you are you still there at WrestlePro?
Yeah, I am still actively training. Still at Wrestle Pro. Still we train twice a week. Obviously, not training right now with what's going on in the world, but
Right.
we train at least twice a week. It's usually Mondays and Wednesdays, and then whenever we have to switch it, we'll switch it to Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we're always at least getting in the ring twice a week with training. So I'm still active. You know, no matter how many times I can wrestle on the weekends, there's still parts of my game that I need to work on, still things I need to polish up. And we got a whole crop of new students at the school. So it's only fair that I go and spread as much knowledge as I can, the limited knowledge that I have, spread it to them, help them out.
And that's actually a point I love to make, is because in my area there are a couple schools, and I see that they pass down. I absolutely love. Look at that hair standing on my damn. I get this all the time because I love wrestling, but I've been at practices, and I'll use test of strength for an example. Down there, they do a practice run or a mock match, as I like to call it. It's probably not what it's called, but whatever. And they do these things, and I get the privilege of watching some really cool shit. But it's actually some of them students that are in the ring, the ones that have already come up maybe a couple years. They're like, no, why don't you try this instead of that? Not the way that's not the way I do it, but if you might do it this way, it could be a little more comfortable.
Right.
And now that you said that, that's got to give you a little something right here to be able to pass it down to the new girls and the new guys and women that are coming in there,
Yeah, it's definitely cool to kind of see those guys progress over time, especially guys that you've seen start from day one and progress and see how far that they're coming from now. I'm gonna shout out two guys right now, guys that I'm gonna put my stamp on. I'm not gonna say that I trained these guys because I didn't. They were trained by Pat Buck, Dan Moff, Mario Bacaro, all those guys. But it's Jay Cruz and Victor Chase, collectively known as the Brick City Boys. They're just starting out as a team. Victor Chase been wrestling for probably about 3 years now. Jay Cruz wrestling for about two years now, and they're just coming together as a tag team. And I think those are two guys that are going to be coming up your way. You're going to be seeing them a lot. Guys, I think the whole wrestling community should really pay attention to, because it's two guys that have the drive, have determination to become a great tag team, and I see a lot of potential in them. So, like I said, just wanted to shout them out really quick.
The Brick House Boys, correct?
Brick City Boys.
Brick City Boys.
Yes, sir.
Get on the face page, get on the Twitter, get on the YouTube, or hopefully we can find them, because they are new. But sometimes if you get a good tutelage, that social media should be all part of being a wrestler. So look those kids up, and I'm gonna. I'll check
definitely. I know they just started up their Instagram page. They just started up their team Twitter page. So hopefully within the next few weeks, they start really growing that a lot more.
Cool. With the whole COVID thing, with the whole thing going on, are you able to get some workouts in, because you've got a good physique going on? Are you able to keep your body physically continuing here?
Yeah, like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be home in Chicago right now, and I'm fortunate enough to have access to a very small gym right now. It's only limited to a select few of people, so I am very fortunate that I have access to that. But I still do like to do my at-home workouts, just basic squats, push-ups, burpees, stuff like that, just kind of keep myself fresh. But like I said, I'm fortunate enough to have access to a gym so I can stay in shape. But man, being back in Chicago with that good Italian cooking, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to stay in shape.
Well, I mean, I have heard on some of the medias, the guys and girls busting each other's ass, that we're gonna be a bunch of fat bastards when we come back.
Yeah. Hey man, everyone's gonna be wearing singlets.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah,
Jeez.
right.
Yeah, these guys and girls, just do what TJ's doing. Just keep up with your regimen. Let's come back like you left.
Right. Let's come back better. That's why I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Come. Now when you come back, now I've spoken about this to a couple people. When you come back, it's gonna be flooded with all you talented men and women. But I'm not trying to jinx you guys, but what I'm feeling is that everybody's going to come full guns loaded. Everybody's going to be doing all sorts of kooky shit. What can I do? Because I've got all of these things that I want to do right now in this match. against said person or whatever. I'm afraid that it might get a little too kooky. There might be some injury prone when we all come flooding back. I hope that's not the case, but do you see like maybe that hyperness and all of that when everybody comes flooding back to it could get away from you, your head, you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. After taking so much time off, you're so eager to get back into the ring that kind of once you get into the ring, you want to just let everything out that you've been holding in for the past month, 2 months, however long it may be. I mean, I've taken a month off of wrestling before, and remember the first match back, I just remember going in with like, I want to show out like crazy because it's been so long since I've been in a ring. But I think a lot of wrestlers are smarter nowadays, where they can realize what they need to do depending on where they're placed on the card. I think that first match, whatever the first indie show that gets announced, once this is all over, that first match, to me, go balls to the walls, go crazy. That's the match to do it because it's the first match that people are going to see once this is all resolved. But I'm hoping that everybody else kind of is looked at that like, okay, that was the first match. They got it all the way. They got the fans hot. Now we can do a little bit less and get more out of it because these fans are going to be so eager to just see wrestling no matter what it is.
Man, because and I don't know if you guys and girls realize this, and because I know I do, and I know some of the fans that I'm associated with does, we miss it just as much as you guys and girls do. So I can't wait for that to come back, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy time once it's back.
It is. We talked create your home base. Let's move on. What are you doing since you've branched out over the past few years now? Where have you gone? Where have you kind of you feel that you've made a mark to where they ask you to come back? Where are some of the ones that stand out in your head?
One of the places that stands out like almost immediately is two places in New Jersey that you might have heard of probably, Pro Wrestling Magic and Synergy Pro Wrestling. Those are two places that when I was breaking away from the beach bums and kind of starting to do my own thing, those are two places that really took a chance on me and kind of gave me a different platform than my home promotion would have. Pro Wrestling Magic took a huge chance on me. I kind of showed up to a show and they had an open spot to wrestle Killian McMurphy, and Killian, who I'm a huge fan of. And, you know, ever since that match, they've consistently brought me back. It's been a while since I've been at Pro Wrestling Magic just because, you know, scheduling doesn't add up. But Pro Wrestling Magic is a place that definitely helped me out, and they accepted me as family. And then Synergy Pro Wrestling, Colin West. I constantly would message Colin when I was first starting out. Hey, man, I'm not asking for an opportunity. I'm telling you to give me an opportunity because I promise you give me an opportunity, you're not going to regret it. And it took months and it took almost a year before he finally was like, hey, you know what? I'll give you an opportunity. And I got to wrestle Matt McIntosh, somebody who helped form me a little bit and somebody who I've trained with, a good friend of mine. And I got to wrestle him, and that was ever since then, Synergy I've been on almost every single show. And now I'm about to win the Cruiserweight crown. That's Synergy Pro Wrestling. Well, I can't say I'm about to win. I have to have the match first.
Hey, you got to have that confidence. I'm
true.
calling the champ right now. We're calling that right now and stirring the pot. TJ, you're the champ. You're taking that home, baby.
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah, but like I said, man, Synergy Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Magic definitely took a huge chance on me and gave me a very big platform.
Now, those two companies brings me to something because of it's not only again I hope I do repeat this a lot, and I'm just apologizing to everybody I talk to. I hope it's just not my mom and dad that watches this. So what I'm saying is it takes there might be some wrestlers, there might be some nice young talent that are upcoming that see your name being tagged and might want to be like, hey, what did he have to say? So with him saying that, it almost looked like a solid year of like, take this chance. Don't give up. You got to keep pushing because you're your own salesman that pushes your own brand. Do you find yourself giving up, or do you just persevere every single time?
No, I kind of, like you said, like all of 2019, I kind of took as, let me get my opportunities at these places. And then once I get those opportunities, let's see where we can go from there. And then kind of wanted to take 2019 as kind of a test trial, see what places fit me, what places, wanted to take a chance on me, what places wanted to use me a lot more. And then once that happened, kind of choose my spots. Okay, I'll do this show, like XYZ, whatever you want to call it. But no, there's still other places I want to work at, and the only way you're going to get there, and I hope some younger wrestlers are watching this, the only way you're going to get there is hopping in a car with somebody and just going. Because as much as you think sending an email or sending a Facebook message is going to get these promoters' ears, a lot of the times they don't really care. They don't want to watch your highlight reel. They want you to show up. They want you to set up chairs. They want you to help set the ring up. They want you to just be present, because you never know. Something could happen. Somebody can get hurt. And it sucks that somebody has to get hurt. That's an opportunity for you, and then you can make the most of that opportunity. I had an opportunity back in I think it was April of 2019 to drive up to C4 in Ottawa in Canada.
Great place.
And I drove up with Kyle the Beast and a couple of the guys from Young, Dumb, and Broke. And I was just going to hang out. It's weird driving all the way up to Canada just to sit there and hang out. But it got me an opportunity to wrestle on the pre-show for there, and hopefully I'll be back a lot sooner.
Nice. See, right there. Excellent, solid advice, Mr. Crawford, because you got a spot, and it didn't matter if you got a spot, though, because if the promoter sees some guys that are on the show, but they brought somebody that's setting up the chairs, that's helping with the ring, sweeping up at the end of the night if there's shit on the floor or whatever. The promoters, they see that stuff, and that is actually part of the opportunity. You don't always have to have somebody not being able to make it or get hurt or have to go to work that night or whatever, So it all kind of comes full circle. All you have to do is show up, and you never know what could happen.
Yeah, same thing happened to me with Chaotic Wrestling. I was very, very good friends with the guys from Bear Country, Bear Boulder and Bear Bronson. Again, guys that I train with. And they were starting to get on the Chaotic shows a little bit regularly. So, being the guy I am, wanting to get on these bigger shows, wanting to branch out, hop in the car with them. It took a while. I went to like 6 or 7 Chaotic shows in a row and helped set up everything before they gave me an opportunity. But eventually they did. They took a chance on me, and I've been fortunate enough to wrestle for Chaotic a few times, and hopefully, again, once this all resumes, I can start coming back to Chaotic on a more regular basis.
Well, around here, I'll say the United States, because Chaotic, they produce under the tutelage of Brian Fury. They produce people were right now on TV. But some of the most amazing talent, not even just on TV, that are working in Chaotic, is unbelievable. It's a little far from my blood. I've gone like once or twice, but man, I always try to keep my eye on the pulse up there because it's such an amazing company. So it might be a little harder to get on said Chaotic show. Again, TJ went to a half a dozen shows, didn't stop, kept plugging at it, go with the boys. Now, I got to ask you something, though, very specific. You mentioned Bear Boulder. Now, I've known Bear Boulder previous to being a bear, when he was Beefcake. I don't call him Bear Boulder. I
don't either. Never call. I only said Bear Boulder just because I know he wants to get that name out there, but I always call him Beefcake. It's always Beefcake to me.
I know, but you know how I kind of like tag TJ Crawford as kind of, stirring the pot, and I tag it and I want to call him Beefcake. Is he because you've driven with him? If I do that, will he get pissed at me and reach through this phone and strangle me?
I wouldn't think so. He looks like a big scary dude, but he's pretty soft on the inside. But I know he's really trying to get that Bear Boulder out there a little bit more. But I guess if you wrote Beefcake on it, I don't think he'd be too upset. I know a lot of people will only know him as Beefcake. So,
well, I don't like to go against the grain because, as SOG Ronnie Ribb says, I weigh about 35 pounds or so, around there. So I don't want to piss off nobody his size. So I'll probably just do this Bear Boulder thing. I won't like it, but I'll do it. I appreciate that because I don't want to die. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, we've talked some really cool promotions on the independent scene, but if I'm not mistaken, because I've seen TJ Crawford part of Impact Wrestling not that long ago. If I'm not mistaken, because I try to keep my eye on everybody I can. If you were, and give the fans a little insight on what it takes to get on something like that, how your experience was, what'd you do there? Give us a little insight.
So I've actually had an opportunity to work for Impact, the actual Impact TV tapings twice. Back in
Okay.
2018, I got a chance to do it with my partner Freddie Flamingo. We got to wrestle the Desi Hit Squad. So that was kind of, we had gotten the call about that about a week prior, so we had a little bit of time to prepare for it. It was a really cool experience. It was the first time I've ever got to do anything on TV with TV wrestling. So I was very nervous going into it. Obviously, you're in front of a sold out Melrose Ballroom, crowd's hot, crowd's going crazy. They just want to see everybody get their ass kicked. Especially me and Freddie, we come out with the bright green tights on, and then they got the big Desi Hit Squad guys. They're like, oh, they're gonna eat these dudes alive, which they did. They did in about 3 minutes. But man, that was such a cool experience. And then I had the opportunity to work with Impact again, the TV taping a year later when they came back to Melrose Ballroom, and I actually didn't know about that one until the morning of. The morning of the show, I got a text message from Kevin Matthews, who is one of the guys that trains one of the trainers and promoters over at WrestlePro.
Okay.
He shot me a text message, "Hey, we need a guy to wrestle Josh Alexander. Do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Of course. It's like 6 a.m. He texts me. I'm barely awake. He's like, "Can you be here by 12?" I was like, "I'll be there in like an hour if you really need me to. Like, I will change right away." So got up, got myself ready to go, shot over to dressed up as nice as I possibly could. I'm not a fancy dresser. I got my khakis and my polo. That's about as fancy as I'll get. But I get there, and Josh was such a joy to work with. He was very receptive to me. He could tell that I was nervous, and he kind of was able to calm me down and say, I've been in your shoes before. I've had these explosion matches where you kind of don't know what to expect. And he kind of helped calm me down during that. And I thought we had a very good match. So anyone can check that out on the Impact Plus app. I believe it's the January 18th edition of Explosion.
That's got to be pretty cool to say, hey, check my stuff out on Impact. That's got to be pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool, especially growing up. I was a huge fan of TNA, Impact Wrestling. Guys like Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Jay Lethal, Samoa Joe, Petey Williams, especially. So like getting able to, especially at that time, got a chance to talk with Petey Williams, who was kind of helping us put the match together. Someone who I've looked up to over the years. So getting able to talk with him was a very cool experience. Man, that was, like I said, that experience with Impact Wrestling with Josh Alexander, I think was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had.
So you talk about Petey Williams going over the match with you, kind of making you feel a little more comfortable. Alexander bringing you down a little bit, trying to get that mindset. When you guys were getting your match put together, was it all, now that you mentioned Petey Williams, was it the three of you kind of combining heads together, or how did that kind of mold together?
It was kind of, Josh would ask me, "Hey, what ideas what would you like to do during this match?" And it's me kind of just in my own head, like, well, this is you work here, you're assigned here. I'd rather have you do what you need to do, to progress whatever storylines you're doing here. And it was weird. He didn't want that. He wanted me to kind of get all of my, as everyone says, get my shit in. Wanted me to get all my shit in, and he's like I said, he told me that, look, I've had this opportunity before. This is the chance where you have to show out. You have to show everybody what you can do. And with Petey was kind of just, hey, you guys cool? Do you guys have the match put together? Like, he wasn't really sitting with us putting the match together, but he would make sure that hey, you guys still good? You guys good? You guys okay? You
Right.
guys need anything like going over with you guys? But Tommy Dreamer was also there. He was also helping us put the match together a little bit too. And Tommy's another one that I've looked up to over the years. So it's really cool to have two guys that I've looked up to growing up,
Yeah.
kind of like in my ear helping me put this match together. So that was really, really cool.
The nerves getting in front of that camera, getting on a bigger stage as the impact, and especially a taping, and I know the camera and the taping is very relative, but do you find yourself almost going back though, like going back to not when you began, but you're like, okay, I can't miss this spot, I can't do that? I mean, does it get a little more nerve-wracking in your head like that when you're trying? It brings you back a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because with a TV style wrestling, you have to do things in certain spots so that cameras will pick it up. So that's always been very difficult. That was difficult, especially the first go around with TV tapings. Like I said, the first time that me and Freddie got to do it, we had the referees kind of in our ear the entire time, telling us where to look, where to do this, where to do that. And then ever since that day, I've actually every time I've wrestled, I've tried to focus as much on where the cameras are, so that I knew that once I had that opportunity again to work in front of a TV audience, that I can kind of turn that switch on and know where all the cameras are and know exactly where to look, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense because you go to these big shows at the WWE and stuff, and I've sat right next to the hard cam. Like midway up from the floor, midway up or so, there's that hard cam. I've sat next to that, and I've sat next to different camera guys. So I definitely understand that. Now that you've done it a couple times, though, and I'm not saying it's going to be probably, it's going to be nerve-wracking, maybe as still, but you've got that experience under your belt now, and maybe that next time you go in, you might be like, you know what, I got this. You might come in a little bit warmer.
Yeah, I think each time you do it, you get more and more confident. But there's always that nerve that something's gonna go wrong. There's always that nerve. To me, if you don't get nervous before you wrestle, you should stop.
It's the same thing. I talk about music and wrestling being very similar. I would always have to get that first song done on the live stage. I had to get that one damn song done. All of this goes right away, and the rest of the night is cake.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so I feel once when you're wrestling, you get all the nerves, on your entrance, but then once that first thing hits and the crowd really connects with it, all the nerves kind of fly away and you get sucked into the moment, and you're like, okay, we got this, we're good. So it's a cool feeling. It's a cool feeling.
It is, and again, music, wrestling, very similar across all aspects, I gotta say. But even behind the scenes, because I run some bands and it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Now, keeping yourself busy. Are you back at the family in Chicago, right?
Yeah, back at the house that I grew up in.
We talk about support in wrestling on this show. I know it's a repetitive topic for the fans, but I like to give us all a perspective on if the boys and girls out there have that support system, because I feel without it, it could be mom and dad, it could be your sisters, it could be your girlfriend or your wife, or even just a child if you're a single parent. What do you have a support system through this whole endeavor?
Yeah, my mom and dad have been a huge support system for me. I'm kind of gonna go back to when I made a decision to start training with my parents. Actually supported me really well on that. I was away at college. I was at Illinois State University, and I was only there for about 3 months until I realized, hey, I don't want to be in college. I want to start my dream of being a professional wrestler. And I remember being very nervous about calling my parents and telling them that I wanted to quit school and start training, because obviously, you want to please your parents as much as possible. I know my parents really wanted me to go to college, but I had a talk with one of my best friends, Mike, who lives here in Chicago. He's one of my roommates in college. I remember going to him first before anybody, and I was like, hey man, I told him that I didn't want to do college anymore. I wanted to start training. And ever since that day, and even before that, he's always been super supportive of me. He always texts me, gives me a call, check up how I'm doing. My parents were very, accepting of the idea of me leaving college and training, because they knew growing up that was my dream. That's something that I always wanted to do. My mom did make me at least go to community college while I was training, but they did give me their full blessing to come train, and they're still very supportive of what I'm doing.
That's good because, again, I talk about mindset a lot because it's a very, again, I think it has to be, you've got to have that mindset along with your physical part of the wrestling. Without it, man, you get all tweaked out in there. You don't perform correctly. You could get hurt. You could hurt your opponent. You could hurt the referee. You could hurt a fan. You just don't know what the hell's going to happen if you don't have that mindset of, I'm comfortable, I'm in a good place, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to kick ass, and I'm going to show the fans what I'm all about, you know? So when you come out, what do you rather? Because sometimes I don't know what to do with you. The fans, sometimes they boo the piss out of you. Sometimes they cheer you and raise you to the holy. Which do you prefer? And why do you got to twist my brain up? Because it's really effing, my friend.
I don't really prefer, like, I mean, if you want to boo me, boo me. If you want to cheer me, cheer me. You know, it's like I said, it's all about, as long as you're reacting, as long as you're giving me something. You know, the worst thing you could do is come out and you just have complete crickets. You know, and I've had that before. It's a terrible feeling, especially at a new place where you come out and the fans are like, I don't know who you are, and you have to kind of reevaluate yourself as you're making your entrance. It's like, okay, what can I do in this match or do while I'm making my way to the ring that's going to get these fans to get up and make some noise? And whether it's jaw jacking with a fan or throwing your arms up the air and yelling the generic "Let's go" or "Come on," you know. And I'm very guilty of that. But man, like anything that's going to get the fans riled up and ready to go. Like I said, like, man, if you boo me, boo me. If you cheer me, cheer me. Like either way, I'm cool with either.
And you'll feed off of either way. No matter how we respond, you feed off of that and just take it whatever direction we give it.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes you never know. You can go in there expecting that you're going to get cheered out, get cheered like crazy, and then you get booed out of the building. And it's like, all right, well, now we got to change everything up because these fans don't want to see me do well. They want to see me get my ass beat. So let's give it to them. Let's kick my ass. Let's do it.
Speaking of fans, have you ever had, because again, my curiosity kills me about things like this. Have you ever had these weird fan interactions where they grab you or throw shit at you or send you like really wacky ass messages, especially the ladies? Because, hey, let's face it, DJ, you're gorgeous. What's going on? Do you get some weird fan shit that happens?
I mean, every wrestler gets weird fan messages. You know, I kind of just block them out. I don't really pay attention to them. Doesn't really bother me to that extent.
And he answered mine. I didn't even see that coming.
That's the thing. I know you. I've seen you at shows, and I know who you are. So that's a little bit different. But I'm saying, like, I've gotten like messages from fans who, like, I don't know. I've never seen them before, and it's obvious that they're fake profiles and stuff like that. And I don't respond. I don't entertain it. You know. If you've followed me at any form of social media, you know I'm not like super active on social media. I'm not like, I don't tweet very often. I don't go back and forth with fans. It's not me. There's no need to put it on, to go back and forth with people on social media. You want to see me wrestle, come watch me wrestle. If you got something to say it to me when I'm making my way to the ring. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Cut and dry from one Mr. TJ Crawford. hey, dude, I'm down with that. But you know, we are in a day and age. The more social media that we see as fans, the more we get to maybe share said pictures or share said something. So if you're not into it, maybe you should find a little something, you know, a little help. Again, part of that support system. Maybe you can find a little help to do some social because we love that stuff. I'm just saying.
I mean, like I said, I try to stay active on social media and like give fans content to watch, but I'm not going to go back and forth with fans on social media. That's more what I mean. If I might have worded it weird, but I'm not the type of guy that's going to go back and forth with fans or start big Twitter arguments with people. You got especially with other wrestlers too. Like I'm not a fan of progressing storylines on social media. It's just
Mm.
not it's not me. I'm not really into that. If it really calls for it and we really need to do it, by all means, let's do it. But I'm not just gonna go on in social media and call somebody out. I'd rather if I want to fight you, I'm gonna fight you in the ring. I'm not gonna fight you with words on social media. I'd rather just get into the ring and kick some heads.
Well, I'm sure you worded it right, but again, I'm not all there. And so I'm sure you projected it fine. I get lost sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it makes for fun back and forth.
What I also like to do is you've been a worker for a little bit, but as a fan, do you still actively watch the product that's on TV? Because I like to find out what all you guys and girls are watching, if you do watch what's going on right now.
Yeah, I'm still very active. I still watch almost weekly. I still watch Raw, I watch NXT, I watch SmackDown, I watch Dynamite, watch Impact, I watch Ring of Honor. I'm a very big fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I kind of keep up to date with that a lot more than I probably do. It probably goes WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then kind of everything else, like here and there. So yeah, I still actively watch wrestling. I like to sit there. I hate watching wrestling as a wrestler. I hate sitting there and trying to like critique everything. I'm gonna sit like when I watch wrestling, I'm sitting there and I'm taking my wrestler hat off and I'm putting my fan hat on and I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying the moment.
Good, because that's what I like too. I like to be surprised as a fan. Same thing. I would go check out, some other person's band or whatever, and I find myself not doing not doing this, but
Right.
I'm listening to this or that, and I'm like, that could be better, or that could, and I feel that it's hard to differentiate. You just got to have fun and be a fan still.
Yeah, definitely.
So New Japan, you bring New Japan up. They've got some crazy, crazy matches out in New Japan. What's the flavor of New Japan that draws TJ Crawford into it?
I'm a huge fan of the strong style of wrestling. Just I think the first time I watched a Japanese style match, I just remember completely falling in love with it, and just the realism that these guys are portraying and the emotion that they're kind of bringing out of the fans. I don't know what it really was about it, but it just kind of stuck to me in, and I've tried to adapt that style of wrestling and kind of use that with how when I put matches together, I kind of look at it as how would this be structured if it was on a New Japan show?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, that's the goal. The first goal of mine is to get to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like that's the big dream of mine is to get there, wrestle in the Tokyo Dome. Bright lights, thousands of fans screaming at the Tokyo. Like I find every time I watch a Wrestle Kingdom or any Tokyo Dome show, it's just a different feeling watching it. So yeah, that's when I try to structure my stuff nowadays, I kind of look at it as how would a New Japan match be structured?
They have different rules or different setup, if you will. There's the 20 count, which is a little weird because when I really dove into New Japan, the referee is in the ring counting in Chinese or what have you, but over the speaker, there's a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what the hell are they doing? What's going on here? The ring, a bit different, a lot different, just from visual. I can't imagine getting in that thing as a worker. It'd be like an ocean or something in there. The buckles are set up different. There's many different. The crowd does not react like American crowds at all. They're totally different. Now, again, another difference. Now, matches can go, like you said, 3 minutes, could go 5 minutes and plus. But there are matches in New Japan. They run 40, 50 minutes. Is that something you could see TJ Crawford doing in your wrestling future, being in that environment of going? And I don't mean an easy 5 minutes. You see it, you know it. Is that something you could get your style in there?
Definitely would definitely love to do that with somebody. I would definitely love to go 30, 40, 50, 60 with somebody, you know. That's gonna be a huge test for me, to, you know, see if I have the cardio to do it. Um, but I think the closest I've had to an experience like that was a tag match, Beach Bums versus Team España. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere.
I love Espana.
Team España, yeah, they're again guys that have helped me out tremendously over the years. We had a 2 out of 3 falls match at a company in Pennsylvania that went about 25, 30 minutes. So that was the closest that I've had to a match like that. But again, being in a tag format, you're not in the ring for the full 30 minutes. So it's different than having a full 30, 40, 50 minute singles match.
Well, if you didn't hear Mr. Crawford, he said that match is on YouTube, and I'm telling you, I just heard the the Beach Bums versus Team España. My insides just went, holy shit, holy shit.
Oh, if you go on YouTube, you look up Beach Bums versus Team España. There's probably a few matches on there. We've had wars over the years.
Dude, I gotta go check out that. I love Team España. They are so fun. And if for those that don't know Team, you know what? You just gave me an idea. I want to see if they're gonna come on my show. That would be effing amazing. But Team España, they have a Jose and a Hose B. It's some of the funniest crap you've ever been involved in wrestling. And you had the Beach Bums in there. Man, that's got to be a fun element. Holy
Man, yeah, it was so much fun. I remember Hose B during the match. I always get them confused because I know them by not Jose and Hose B. I know them by legit names. I'm not gonna say them obviously, but Hose B. I remember had to be maybe like 5-6 minutes into the match. He rolls out and he's on the apron and he looks like he can't breathe, and we're really confused as to what's going on. Referee comes over to me and he's like, "Hey, Host B's his asthma's kicking in really bad." He's like, he can't really go that well. And I'm like, "Tell him it's okay. We're gonna get through this with him having a really bad asthma attack throughout the match." And like, if you watch the match, it's very visible that he's kind of out of it. But for being out of it, man, he put in a hell of a performance for not being able to breathe. And I give Hose B like mad props for that, man. That's like, I remember getting to the back, and I grabbed him and I gave him a big hug and I was like, "Dude, I can't believe you're able to do that while having an asthma attack." And he's like, "I love you so much, but I can't breathe and I need to go get my inhaler." So Randy ran, got his inhaler. But that's like a memory that will stick with me forever.
Wow. These are the things, Mr. Crawford, that I love that you guys and girls share with us. We, as fans, would never hear this kind of stuff. So this is what it's all about, man. Just hanging out, talking cool stuff about wrestling and your career, because this is about TJ Crawford, you know? Thank you so much for sharing those kind of things. Speaking of sharing, though, what I like to do, what I like to do, though, is road stories are some of my favorite things to hear from the men and women. You smiling already? You've already got one in mind.
I've got the perfect one in mind.
Give me.
Oh man, let's see. It was almost about a year ago. It was myself, the guy Victor Chase that I had mentioned earlier when he was not first starting out, but he was still trying to get his feet wet. And LSG, Leon St. Giovanni. We hopped in the car. We drove up to Rochester, New York for Empire State Wrestling show. Me and LSG were both on the show. We get there, really easy, nice 6-hour drive. On the way back, it's raining a little bit. No big deal. We've driven in the rain before. We maybe get, like I said, it's a 6-7 hour drive. We get maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours into the drive, and LSG hits a pothole, and his tire completely explodes in the middle of the road. We pull over because it's freezing outside. It's raining. We're trying to get the jack to try to lift the car up to get the tire on. Everything's slipping. The jack kept slipping out. We couldn't get the tire on. We couldn't get one tire off for a while. We were out there we were out in the pouring rain for probably about 2 hours. We would go at trying to get the tire for like half hour. Couldn't get it. Wet in the car. tried to calm ourselves, get back at it. Eventually, after about 2 hours, we finally got this tire on, but it's the spare tire, so we can't drive fast. So now we're 5 hours away from home, and we have to drive about 45 miles an hour the entire way back. So I remember falling asleep. I was in the front. I remember fell asleep, and I woke up, and it was daylight. It was daylight out. It was about 8 in the morning. LSG had pulled over in a parking lot, probably at about 4 or 5 in the morning. He said he couldn't sit there because, like I said, the drive was taking so much longer than it was supposed to. He pulled over. I wake up and he's passed out. Victor's passed out in the back, and I'm like, it completely threw me off guard because I was like, I don't know what's going on. It's like 8 in the morning. I woke up. I fell asleep. It was dark. I woke up. It's light. I'm confused. But that's like the first story that comes to mind because it was just such a funny experience that like we couldn't believe that it happened to us. Could not believe it. I'm trying to think if there's any other like super memorable ones. Anytime me and the beach bums would take drives out to like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, those were always just like fun drives, regardless of like who was driving or what happened. It was just like you're in the car with 2 of your best friends. You know, you're always gonna have a good time.
Do you guys, as the beach bums, did you ever do the old carpool karaoke? Because I've seen some of that stuff with the men and women that they drive together. Do you guys sing along to the radio together?
Oh yeah, of course. We blast like the old WWF theme songs. You know, we're singing and we're dancing. We're getting into it. We actually used to book our own WrestleMania cards on these long drives, but we would put like certain restrictions on it. We would say, okay, you can only pick wrestlers that wrestled from 1990 to 99. You can only pick those guys, or you have to pick somebody from this era of wrestling and put them against somebody from this era of wrestling. And it was cool to see like what you would come up with, because my card would be very different than Brody's card, and Freddie's would be so different. Like it would be.
Give us a little taste. What would your card be? Just give us a random card from TJ.
Let's see. I'm gonna do it with the guys that I enjoy watching and guys that I grew up watching. Like I would love to see like a CM. Like I'm a huge CM Punk fan, obviously being from Chicago. Like I would love to see like a CM Punk versus like a current day Samoa Joe. Like I know they've wrestled each other in Ring of Honor over the years, but like current day Samoa Joe, would love to see that. Let's see what else we got going on. I might get some heat for this, but I was a very big Chris Benoit fan.
Hey, that Heat Schmeat. He was a wrestler. What he was is what he was. I think there's a lot of love for him, and people just don't like to admit it because of what happened.
Right.
We have to separate that. You take his ring prowess and work with that.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to bring up CM Punk again. I would love to have seen Chris Benoit versus CM Punk. It was a match that we were supposed to get at Night of Champions 2007. Just like it off the top of my head, I remember that completely, like very like vividly. Which remember, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to see Chris Benoit versus CM Punk. These are 2 of my favorite wrestlers. Like I'm going to see them wrestle each other. And then obviously due to what happened, we didn't get to see the match. So that's like a fantasy match of mine that I would love to see. Man, Rey Mysterio versus anybody. Just throw Rey Mysterio in the ring with anybody, and magic gonna happen. Edge against anybody, man.
Do you like what they're doing with Edge right now? I'm curious.
I'm loving this what they're doing with them right now, and especially with they're doing these promos with no fans. It's just it's sucking you in so much more because you actually get to hear everything that they're saying. There's no fans yelling at them the entire time. They're staring directly into the camera, and you're getting to hear everything that they're saying. You could feel everything they're saying. It's so. And I've always been a huge Edge fan. Edge is like top 3 of mine of all time, guys that I try to emulate my style off of. And I just, even his promos back then, I think the promo he just did on Raw, with kind of the dark lit room with the Mick Foley flannel on. I got Mick Foley vibes from that. But like, it just like it sucks you in and it makes you a fan again. It's so cool.
Hey, those sound like some fantastic matches. I would definitely, and like you said, the current Samoa Joe against CM Punk, that'd be pretty interesting to see, man. That'd be pretty crazy. Now, when excuse me, when you're on the road and you're listening to tunes and you happen to fall asleep, Just saying, you happen to fall asleep. Do you guys like, draw shit on your face, or the shaving, the dumb shit? Do you guys
Yeah.
do shit to each other?
I've been fortunate enough not to have anything drawn on my face or anything shaved off of me. I haven't seen it in any of the cars that I've been in, because usually it's one person falls asleep, everybody falls asleep, and the driver's kind of up by himself. I'm also driving a lot of the time, so I can't sleep.
Oh, okay.
So, so yeah, but like everyone's always saying like, oh, whoever's sitting in the passenger seat has to stay up with the driver. I tell the person in the passenger seat, go to sleep, take a nap, because then I'd rather have them go to sleep, because then God forbid I get tired, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the drive. Now the person's well rested. They can hop over, take over. I could take a nap for a little bit. But then I also like them falling asleep, because I like throwing on my podcast. I like throwing on my music, and just kind of being with myself. You don't get sometimes in wrestling, you don't get those alone time to kind of just sit back and reassess everything that just happened in the show, or reassess everything that's happened over your career. So I like those long drives where everyone kind of falls asleep. I get to throw some music on and just relax and let myself just kind of reassess everything that's happened.
When wrestlers perform, and I know that, like with us, it's an escape from the bullshit. And I mean, not that you don't love wrestling and want to be a performer, but it's almost like a therapy. We go to get away from the bullshit. You guys, you go, to do your thing to get away from the bullshit. And it all happens. It works. It's been working for years. We all have a cool relationship. And I don't know. I miss wrestling so bad, TJ, and I can't wait for it to come back. And is there any specific promotion when you come back that you haven't been able to touch? And I know the bigger ones, we talked about the pinnacle ones, but in a general indie scene, is there any promotions that you're looking to get into that you haven't been able to yet?
I'm definitely would love to get into with Limitless Wrestling. I've had the opportunity to wrestle with their development promotion, Let's Wrestle, up in Orono, Maine. I've had the opportunity to work with them a few times. So hopefully once it's all settled in, I can start, making my way up to Maine a lot more, and try to get in touch with the guys from Limitless, and try to get my name out there at Limitless. Because like I said, Limitless is one of the biggest places not just in the Northeast, but one of the biggest companies in the entire country.
Exactly.
So that's a place that I definitely would love to branch into. And there's places that I was supposed to be making debuts at, True Wrestling in Pennsylvania. I was supposed to make my debut for them March 20th. Obviously, with everything being canceled, that debut had to get postponed. There's a few others that I was going to debut for, and some places that I was going to start wrestling for a lot more often. I don't want to throw those names out there, because obviously you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But there are definitely places that I had lined up that, because of what's going on, had to get canceled. And I really hope that I can stay in touch with those places and still get to work with them.
Nice. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for TJ Crawford, because I tell you, man, to where you are now, you're still, I mean, it's a young career. So where you're at now, I mean, holy crap, you're going to be something amazing now. Is it something that you're looking for long term? Are you looking for maybe a cutoff point in your life, or where's wrestling in TJ Crawford?
I mean, I don't really, I don't really try to set super like major goals. If that's like, I don't try to say like, hey, by this date, I want to have done this. I kind of just let everything kind of fall into place almost, and see what comes when, because I feel like when things are going to happen, they're going to happen. You can't try to speed things up. You can't slow things down. Instead of setting enormous goals for myself, I try to keep small, like individual goals that kind of like I'll keep to myself. I don't really make it super public. Because I feel like if you make these giant goals that seem so like unimaginable, and like, oh, I can't imagine if I ever got to like this. That's a goal of mine, to wrestle for WrestleMania and wrestle here and wrestle there. Like, yes, I have those goals, but at the end of the day, you have to set small goals, because you don't want to disappoint yourself. Almost, you don't want to set too big of a goal, then you don't accomplish that goal, and now you're like, okay, well now what do I do? I only wanted to do that. You know, it's I try to just keep my goals very small. Say like, hey, you know what? By the time this year's over, I want to have wrestled for like 1 or 2 different promotions that I've never wrestled for before. And then if I exceed those goals, it's, you know, it's a cool feeling because, hey, I only set goals to wrestle for 1 or 2 different places, and I got a chance to wrestle for 10 different places. You know, so to me, this do small mini goals that are going to lead to that eventual bigger picture goal.
Seminars are a major part of wrestling. If none of you are familiar, usually the veterans will come around. You give them $20-$30 or whatever it is, and they share their knowledge. May it be in ring, may it be psychology, what your look. They all do it a little bit different, but they all have knowledge that they give the men and women. And usually a nice turnout comes from most of these seminars. Now, like Ref Bill Thompson drove all the way up to Canada with the House of Pain for one seminar. Or, Ref Gina and Ref Bill, they went to Chikara for one seminar. Does TJ Crawford do these seminars and do these drives?
I have in the past. I have done these seminars in the past. I did an Al Snow seminar out in Pennsylvania. I did a Jake the Snake Roberts seminar with WrestlePro. So like, I mean, I think what guys who especially are just starting out, you know, doing those drives to go to these seminars, I think it's beneficial for everybody because you're going to learn something different from each guy that you go to. Like the knowledge I'm going to get from Al Snow is different from the knowledge I'm going to get from Jake the Snake Roberts or Dr. Tom Pritchard or Rip Rogers or whoever's running whatever seminar. You're going to get something different. And you might not agree with everything that person says, but I feel like there's always going to be one thing from each seminar, each training session that you're going to pick up on. It's something that's going to stick with you and help. You might pick, like I said, one thing up from each person, and those 4 things that you pick up can mold the wrestler that you become. So I think seminars are very important, especially for younger guys just starting out.
You obviously would keep your eye on the independent scene because you're in the indies. I like to figure out what the men and women right now, who you're looking at on the independent scene, that is somebody that you would like to work with in the ring.
One person I would definitely love to get in the ring with is Kevin Blackwood. We've had the opportunity to wrestle each other in a 6-man ladder match at XWA a few months back, but we have never had like a one-on-one singles match. I would love to get in the ring with him. Someone else from his area, Daniel Garcia, would love to get into the ring with him. Josh Briggs, you know, that size difference I think would be really, really cool. We can make a really cool dynamic out of that. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who I haven't at least crossed paths with. There's guys over in the Midwest, someone like AJ Gray. It's like a big bruiser guy. Would love to get into the ring with him. Jake something, another big giant guy. I always love the smaller guy versus the bigger guy. I love the dynamic again because I was a huge fan of Rey Mysterio growing up. So I was always a huge fan of that underdog fight against the bigger guy. So there's just a couple names that come to mind off the top of my head.
Now, you mentioned the 6-way ladder match at the XWA. That was now, correct me if I'm wrong, that was at a Wrestolution, their WrestleMania. You were part of that. That shit was crazy.
That match was, I mean, it's funny, we didn't really put any of the match together beforehand. We kind of just went out there blind and just kind of like we had like a few ideas like here and there, but it was kind of we were the first match. We didn't find out, you know, who was winning or like if we needed something specific until maybe about 10 minutes before the match had started. So instead of trying to cram a bunch of stuff in within the 10 minutes we had to put it together, it's like, okay, everybody get individually, figure out if you want to do something, and then if the ring is free, go in there and do what you got to do. But I think for kind of putting that match together like last second and kind of just all in the ring, I thought it came out pretty well. And all those guys in the ring, it was me, it was Tyler Cintron, it was Richard Holiday, Mike Verna, Ace Austin, and Kevin Blackwood. I've had the opportunity to wrestle Ace Austin in multi-man matches. That's the first time I ever got to get in the ring with Rich Holiday and Mike Verna, so that was really cool. And then that was the first time I got to wrestle Tyler Cintron up until maybe about a month ago when I wrestled him at Chaotic.
Okay. You named some fantastic names that you were in the ring with in that specific match with, because you weren't in the ring. That thing was nuts.
I spent way more time on the outside than I did in the ring. Definitely.
Yeah. Now, correct me again if I'm mistaken. That was for the XWA. They're based out of Rhode Island in West Warwick. Oh my God, I hate saying that word.
Yeah.
Now, that was for the Firebrand Championship that they made in honor of Brian Fury, and they've used it as a title, and it's been really cool what they've done with that. Now, was Richard Holiday the champion at that time?
Tyler Cintron was the champion at that time.
Okay.
But I think Richard Holiday was the champ right before Tyler Cintron. Or I think it went Tyler Cintron, Mike Verna, Richard Holiday, Mike Verna. It went Richard Holiday, Tyler Cintron, and then Mike Verna was after Cintron. A couple weeks after that Resolution show.
Fantastic, those big shows, the setting, because they used to do at the XWA Center, which holds a good few hundred people. Man, the crowds are hot out there. But going where they were for Resolution, it was big. The ambience. Now, correct me again if I'm wrong. Was it that wicked, nasty hot summer day, and things weren't going right because of there was some fire marshal stuff going on, and there was a line of fans like a good city block long.
No, the Resolution is usually scheduled to be in like around June and July, but I guess because that what you're talking about was going on, they had to move it to November. So the Resolution didn't actually happen until November. But I think what you're referring to was the reason why that the show got pushed back.
Yeah, because man, there was some brutal times. That's the thing, I'd really love to touch on that. If you got the time, are we still good?
Dude, let's go. I got nowhere to be.
All right, cool. I've been in places that are ungodly in the summer. No ventilation. You might get a big fucking gray fan over in the corner that doesn't do shit. How in the world, like me, I don't go to even a couple specific places when it's really nasty temperature and humidity, because we're all stuffed in that little. How in the hell can you men and women push through that kind of stuff?
Man, like a specific time that comes to mind is actually in the XWA Event Center. I believe it was it was a Thursday show. The main event was a tag team gauntlet match, and I think it was one of the last times me and Freddie had teamed up together. I'm sorry, it was actually a year before we had started talking about potentially breaking off from each other. But it was over the summer, probably maybe like June, July or something like that. I don't know the exact month. It was a tag team gauntlet match, and me and Freddie were the first team in, and we were the second to last team eliminated. So we were in the ring for 30 plus minutes, and it was, if you've ever been in the Event Center in the summer, that place is steaming hot, especially in the middle of the ring when all the lights are pointing towards the ring. It makes it even hotter. And I remember, I think it was after the second match, I rolled over to Freddie and I was like, man, I don't know how much longer I can go. And he's like, well, we have at least one more match, so let's get through this one more match. And luckily, it was actually against Insanely Rude. So I think it went Young, Dumb, and Broke, Team Espana, and Insanely Rude. So it's like you got that CZW style hard hitting with Young, Dumb, and Broke. You have that kind of comedy haha style with Team Espana, with still thrown in some athletics and wrestling here and there. And then you have that cool indie style with Insanely Rude. So we got to wrestle like 3 different styles. But man, We were dead after that. I remember getting to the back and laying on the floor, and everyone's like, "Are you guys okay?" We're like, "No, man. We just wrestled for like 30 minutes in the scalding heat. Like all the lights are going down." I remember Main State Posse, I think, was the last team that was gonna enter, and they're like, "Is it really that bad out there?" And I'm like, "Dude, if I were you, I would go like 2 minutes. I would just go in and get out." So, but we got to go out after the show. Me, Main State Posse, Amazing Graysons, like we all got to go out after and like and unwind and cool down and kind of like it was cool. We got to hang out with those, like all the tag teams got to hang out with each other, and that was pretty cool. I think there's a picture up on Facebook somewhere of like all the tag teams that were there on like sitting together. It was really cool.
Do you prefer one match better than the other, or all matches it doesn't matter, give me a match, I'm good? Like a singles, a tag team, a gauntlet, the ladder match. I mean, is TJ Crawford for any match?
Yeah, I mean, so the way I look at it, as much as I love having singles, like just one-on-one singles matches, those are just the match that I would like to have often. But I like to just get thrown in random situations. Like again, like throw me in a gauntlet match, throw me in a multi-man. I've done more multi-man matches than I have anything else. Throw me in a tag match, throw me in a ladder match, last man standing. You know, I like challenging myself to see if I can do those different styles of matches. I got to do a series of kind of last man standing hardcore matches with then Aaron Bradley, but now Alex Ryman.
Hey, could you tell him he's fucking with my mind, because he keeps doing that stuff? I see the changeover. I pay attention to him. I follow his page all the time, and I see that. I'm like, what the hell is he doing, man?
I know he went. I know he went over to Germany to do some training with WXW. So I'm assuming that over there he probably something clicked where he's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna change the name up to what his legit name is, and Alex Raymond or Ryman. I'm still confused on how to pronounce it. I gotta ask him. I haven't seen him in a while, so I got next time I talk to him, I gotta make sure I ask him.
I didn't mean to interrupt, because you speak of many really talented teams, competitors, singles, you name it. You've been in a ring with a lot of cool names, man. I feel that in your young career, that experience with all of those names, and again, I'm not saying that because of, I'll just use Main Street. See, Fogman. Do you know who Fogman is, by the way?
Fogman. I know you had him on earlier, but I'm not super familiar.
He keeps, when he says Main State Posse, he says Main Street Posse, and it messes me up. And it pisses me off. I try to recorrect them, but the Main State Posse, I'll use as an example. You don't have to. You come in with a presence, like I try to talk about. Those guys, they put on a great show. But what that does, that gives, and I'll use the Beach Bums as another example. That brings the Beach Bums up a different, it gives them the chance to shine. Like you were saying, hey man, this is your show, Mr. Alexander. You tell me what to do. No, man. It's your time to shine. Do you find you run into that a lot behind the curtain? To be like, hey man, what do you want to do in the ring? Well, you know what? Maybe we should just kind of combine ourselves. Or yeah, you know what, man? This is what we're gonna do. Or is it a mixed bag?
It's kind of a mix, depends on who in the ring with. So some guys, it's like they have a certain format of a match that they like to just kind of stick to, and it works for them. And I'm totally okay with that. If you feel more comfortable kind of having your match and pacing it the way you would like to and structuring the way you would like to, I'm totally fine with that. I can find ways to plug my stuff in here and there. But I've had very good experiences with people where instead of coming into the match saying like, hey, let's do ABC, it's like, hey, I have an idea for ABC, but let's bounce it off you. I'm going to let you know the idea. Let me know what you think. Let's see if we can fine tune it so it's going to work for both of us. Now, I had that experience when I wrestled Chris Statlander at Beyond Wrestling's Please Come Back. And obviously Chris is somebody who is very over with the Beyond Wrestling crowd and the indie wrestling crowd as it is, especially being on TV now. And it's another girl who come from the same school, come from the same background as me. And I remember coming into the match and I was like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? This is your, Beyond Wrestling is kind of your spot. These are your fans. Like, you know how to structure this. You know how to get the most out of this. And she's like, well, let's collab together. Let's come up with ideas together that's going to work with both of us. And I thought that was really, really cool that we got to kind of butt heads on ideas. Some stuff we agree with, some stuff we didn't. There's some stuff that I wanted to do. She's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing that. No big deal. Some stuff she wanted to do that I wasn't too into. And it's cool it's fun when you get those moments where you get to kind of like butt heads with your opponent. And it's nothing like, oh, hey, I hate your idea and I never want to work with you again. It's like, hey, I'm not a fan of your idea. Let's find a way we can do it so it's cool for both of us, where we can get your idea in and kind of formulate it with the idea that I have.
Do you find it harder to come up with a story that makes sense for yourselves and for us? Do you find it harder to do it with a male or a female, or does it just the gender doesn't matter because it's all relative? Because I find that sometimes men are like, okay, this is a girl. I gotta make this up a little bit differently, and the way I maneuver and stuff. Does that happen to you? Do you find, or they're both the same?
It's a little bit of both. Like some people that you wrestle, you're gonna have to like change up the style, especially like you're wrestling like someone like Chris Statlander, who you can kind of have that back and forth, we're equals style match. And then there's girls out there that, as much as you would like to have a very back and forth match, they might not want to. They might want to tell the story of, hey, I'm a girl. Let's put that into the story. And I've had matches like that where I've had to go that route, and it makes for a different dynamic, because then it makes those two matches completely different. Like, I've had a match with Corinne Mink that's so different than a match with Chris Statlander. And both matches I love equally. Like, I love both matches, and they're very different. And it's just because Statlander wrestles one style, Corinne wrestles another style, and it's cool. It's cool to kind of like bounce back and forth.
Adaption in wrestling is a very big part. You got to adapt, roll with the punches, figure shit out, give and take with your peers. You've sent some amazing messages. You started in 2016. You have a young career. Your mind, my friend, it seems it's got some veteran experience in there. You're sending good messages to the ones that want to get in, or even that are in, that might not feel it right now, that might see this and hear. I think TJ Crawford might send some inspiration tonight, and I can't even thank you enough for the way you spoke, very confidently, very smartly. You've got a good head on your shoulders, and I can't wait to see where TJ Crawford goes, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be just like I said. Just keep on the lookout on the social medias, man. Once wrestling gets back rolling, I plan on taking the wrestling world by storm. So let's get it rolling.
Is there anything that I haven't covered with TJ Crawford that you would like to project to either the fans or your peers, or?
I think we covered almost everything.
Hey, I jostle back and forth. I don't know what the hell I'm saying half the time. You were an amazing guest, man. We had a lot of fun just going back and forth. I can't wait to put this together so the fans can enjoy TJ Crawford, because again, you've only been around here a couple times maybe, and I can't wait for the fans in my area to be introduced to DJ Crawford. This was Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very, very special guest. And I cannot believe when I messaged him, he was like, I'm on board. My very special guest, TJ Crawford. Thank you so much for spending the time with us tonight, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun. I would definitely love to do this again if we get the opportunity to.
I'm down for a follow-up, but when this all goes down, who the hell's going to need to talk to me? You've got shit to do. You've got No, really, no. I would love to do a follow-up anytime, my friend.
Yeah, sure, man.